Here I am, Lord. Now what?
It's just amazing, all the wonderful things and riches of this faith. And I was thinking, you know, now here we are in Lent, and 40 days. 40 days. Now, the Jews have one day of atonement. They don't have to eat for one day, and their sins are forgiven for the whole year. We got 40 days. Even in sin, we're playing retail. And, you know, I've been to the Holy Land several times, and when you go to the Holy Land, you know, I love, like, the Catholics that they always, like, evangelize even on their cars with the bumper stickers. Like, one of my favorite one is, if you can't find Jesus, look for his mother. And I always get a kick out of reading these bumper stickers. I work for Archbishop Hannon and in New Orleans, and his TV ministry, all of us do. Mary's a producer with me and a director, and Janie's the business manager and also does part-time camera. We low budget. And Archbishop used to have, he was 80-some years old, driving around with a bumper sticker. If you know anything about New Orleans, you know, we got that draw, yeah, your mama, and they talk like that, yeah, your mama. And he had a bumper sticker on his car that said, your mama was pro-life, darling. But I get a kick because when you go to the Holy Land, they don't put bumper stickers on their cars. You know, you never see a Jewish person that says, honk if you love Moses, you know. But, you know, just very quickly, there is in the, and I'm just saying this because Janie says I don't do a recap fast enough, but there is a DVD, I think, in the gift shop that tells the story of the first time. And that story was called, that tape is called No Phones in Medjugorje. And where that came from is I was not, like I said, not Catholic. I wasn't anything. I was very much into material things. I had bought a couple radio stations. I worked in broadcasting, bought a couple stations. I was in, you know, very much into material things, wanted to do this, wanted that. I no sooner bought the radio stations and a fire broke out on the piece of property I had. And I jumped in an anxious moment. We were on a hayride. I jumped off of the tractor, got run over. My leg was crushed in two places. The tibia and fibula both broke twice. Couldn't put a pin, they couldn't put a screw in it, and wanted to amputate my leg. And here I am with all of these, you know, I've just taken on, let me just say, to buy this stuff, I was highly leveraged, you know. And so here I am now with, like, nothing, and they want to cut my leg off. So I said, well, I want a second opinion. And so long story short, we do, and then I lay there every day, and I'm realizing I can't go to work, I don't have any money, and this good cradle Catholic friend of mine, Janie, comes by, and she starts telling me about Medjugorje. And I'm like, what? What? I'm not even Catholic. What are you talking about? And all I was picking up from it is, what I got out of it was they were selling peace over there. Because everybody that went over there, everything that mattered in their life before suddenly didn't matter, and all the things that never mattered suddenly mattered. And Jenny would come back and tell me, and I said, well, I'm happy for those people. That's good. Why are you telling me that? And she said, well, if it's God's will for you to lose everything, I'd like to take you to Medjugorje. Well, wasn't that special? So anyway, through a series of, and so every day, and this is when it's primitive. You had to bring your own toilet paper and all that. And so, and then I just said, well, I've never been to Europe. I'm so depressed. I'm losing everything. And it's just, and I said, well, okay. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not telling, and I would never tell anybody where I was going. I would just say, I'm going to Europe. And I thought I was just going to go, and they could go do what they had to do, and I'd lay, like, probably, I knew we lived in houses, stayed in people's houses, but I figured they were like little chalets that overlooked the sea or something. So I said, okay, you know, and so the doctor gives me the okay to go, and I'm in this big cast, and so anyway, when I get over there to Medjugorje, I am the only person you will ever meet that went to that ever went to Medjugorje to hide out from bill collectors. because one little thing she said was, every day I laid there at my house, and it was like, bill collectors, bill collectors, bill. Every day we're going to do this to me, they're going to do that. I was getting this, I was getting that. And every time the phone rang, and I always tell people this, if ever in your life you think that nobody cares, miss a credit card payment. Oh, they care. They don't want you. So I said, well, and then she said, well, you know, there's not even any phones there. And I thought, what a great place to hide out. At that time, it was called Yugoslavia. I said, oh, nobody will ever find me there. So I went. And when I came back, I had a tremendous physical healing. I am a documented miracle and also I had the biggest miracle was that I had a spiritual healing. And 6 months to the day I climbed the mountain, I made my first communion. I was given private instructions, and I made my first communion. Well, isn't that a wonderful story? You know, it's like, well, kind of like the end of a Western where the cowboy rides into the sunset and lives happily ever after. Well, nothing could have been further from the truth. It was like, okay, Lord, here I am. I'm this Catholic now. Now what? Well, you know, this is the thing. Nobody tells you that you have to go through boot camp. And it's boot camp. And then when you think about it, you know, look at those soldiers, what they go through. They have to go through all this rigorous training and this and that, so when the bad times really come, they're strong for it. But nobody told me that. And I'm thinking, okay, well, here I am my problems are going to be healed up and everything. Now, understand what's going on in my life. The whole thing started with a fire in a barn. Okay. Well, that burns. There was a woman who was an alcoholic, and she fell asleep with a cigarette, and she was in a drunken stupor, and it started with a fire. Well, her family, who she hadn't seen, they couldn't even recognize a picture of her at the thing. In other words, she'd been estranged. They didn't even know. And she had been an alcoholic in and out of rehab. We had put her in and out of rehab several times, and she was with the caretaker there, and she had set the fire. Well, now they're suing me for a $3.5 million lawsuit. But I didn't have any money. I'm losing all my property. This is all still going on. I mean, I go to Medjugorje and I come back and I'm like, okay, my leg's healed, but I'm still broke. I still don't have any money. My partner, you'll hear it in the other story, he ended up in the same hospital. He ripped all the ligaments in his leg. He doesn't have any money. And then he gets out, and then somehow he gets kidnapped and held at gunpoint. I mean, this is like a plot in a B movie. I was like, how could this go on? How could this happen? A $3.5 million lawsuit? And look, I don't even want to tell you about the IRS. We had a love gone wrong. I can tell you, they wouldn't leave me alone. So it was like this litany of things that are going on in my life. And I'm like, the more I prayed, the worse it got. And I was saying, the more I'm praying, I don't know about this. What are you doing? What are you doing? And I call this my Noah months. Now think about Noah. Let's think about Noah. You know, like in a Play For Us or Toys For Us, they got a little plastic ark with little animals that go up 2 by 2, and you play with them and all. Now you know nothing could be further than the truth. You know those animals did not go up willingly up that ramp. And you know they didn't get along like that. You know, they were trying to smell each other. And he had to go put them on this ark. And think about Noah. If you really think about Noah, we can really learn a lot about Noah. Because, now think about this. First of all, we're all in the same boat. And this ain't no cruise ship. And you learn, you got to stay fit. Because you never know when you're 600 years old that somebody's going to come and ask you to do something really big. You know? What would you say to somebody that's like over 600? Yeah. You don't look a day over 500. Yeah. But anyway, I call these my Noah months because I think about what did Noah do all day out there? Shovel manure. He had to clean the cages. Shovel manure, looking for lean. and it rains. Shovel manure, shovel manure. And that's what I was doing in my own life. Every day, shoveling manure. Here comes a letter from the IRS, shovel manure. Here comes a foreclosure notice on this piece of property, shovel the manure, shovel the manure. Trouble, 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 shovel the manure. And that's all I could do. And all I could do was sit there and say, what's going on? I'm praying this rosary, and I keep getting more manure. And I'm sure you got that going on in your own life, but the only thing we could do was persist and trust, and trust, and trust, and trust. I think about Noah when he first saw, when he sees the dove coming down with a leaf. He must have been the first charismatic. Don't you think? He had to be the first charismatic if you think about it. So I got all this going on in my life, and people would say, well, now God healed you, and you should fight. Get up there and use your faith and fight. Go back up there to your radio station. Now, I still got this radio station. I got to sell it, okay? They want to foreclose on me. I haven't been able to pay for, because I've been sick. I've been laid up for 10 months. Now I got to go back. And all I want to do is get out of debt. That's all I want to do. I want to leave everything behind. I'm changing my life. I'm not into Donald Trump anymore and all this making money, looking out for number one and winning through intimidation. I'm not interested. You ever go down in a bookstore lately? Just walk that one out. I mean, it's like what society's telling you. It's like tremendous. Look out for number one, the true greed, this, and that, and that. I was looking at that the other day in the bookstore saying, oh my gosh, look at these messages that people are putting out. And I was once there. So I'm looking to myself now and I say, okay, I'll go fight. I'll go up there. I'll go back to that radio station. Now I got a house up there. It's a big house. But I haven't paid the note on it for so long. They're about to foreclose any day. So I said, well, I'll just go up there, and if they foreclose on me, I'll have to sleep at the station. And what I had gone to do was I had a plan. I went to the owners that were carrying the mortgage, and I said, okay, look, I have this much money. I can either make one note on the radio station, or I can go to the attorney and file Chapter 11. He said, you'd never do that. He said, your whole career in broadcasting would be ruined. This and that. I said, you watch. I have one thing. I'm not asking you to forgive my debt. I'm asking you to give me a little lenience and a little time. He said, well, we can't do that because we already have somebody else interested in the stations. I said, well, you either give me relief or I'm going to go get relief from the bankruptcy court. He said, well, I don't think you'll do that. Well, I checked out. Somebody told me a great bankruptcy lawyer. He had written some of the laws in Louisiana on bankruptcy and all over. So I go to him. You're going to love this. This is his true name, Robin Cheatham. Now, nothing against this. True name. So he says, and he's a Baptist. Not that that matters, but I'm sitting there, and I'm so innocent about this. I'm like telling him about Medjugorje in my leg and how it healed, and now I want to come back, and I'm going to heal my business and all this, and he just kind of pats me, and oh, okay, all right. Well, first of all, he was a lawyer. So, I mean, what do you expect? How lawyers are. So, So I give him the money, and we start filing and he said, now, what do you really want to do here? I said, I just want you to get me some time so that I can sell the station, and I can get out of debt, and I can start all over. I just want to get rid of all these things. And, be careful. There's a commercial that we had in New Orleans. It's a terrible, terrible commercial for a low-rent furniture business. And they got a guy, and he wears a big cigar and a big hat. This is how the commercial goes. And somebody comes in and says, I'm bankrupt, and I don't have any credit. And they go, well, go see the special man. And then they walk over, and there's a guy in the back, and he goes, let him have it, let him have it. And it's all about how you can get furniture and everything with no credit or bad credit. And then they can bring another one, come in there, and say, I don't have a job, I don't have this and that. Go see the special man. Let him have it, let him have it. Well, all I could think of was myself. I wanted this, I wanted that, I wanted cars, I wanted houses, I wanted this. And Jesus was sitting up there saying, let her have it. Let her have it. So, man, I'm wanting all these material things. Let her have it. Let her have it. Well, now I got them. And I can't get rid of them. Nothing will sell. All I got to do, I want to unload this radio stations. I want to get through with this. And it's like, everything was like, no, nothing's going. Nothing's going my way. Nothing's selling. I had all my properties up for sale. So the only thing I could do, the biggest thing, was get rid of the radio station. So I go up there and I tell the lawyer, just give me some time. Give me some time from the court. And this is what I want to do. I said, first of all, the station, I'm finding out now, and it was in a small town where everybody was connected. So this one's brother-in-law knew this one of the owners that were carrying the mortgage. Come to find out, this was like a shell game. They would sell it to somebody knowing you couldn't make it, take all your down payment, you foreclose on you, resell it again. So this was a game. So when the lawyer saw that there was a pattern like this, he figured, well, you do have some hope here because this is not good business practices, what they've been doing. They've been doing this before. So I said, look, all I want to do is sell it and this and that. It's overpriced. He said, well, what do you think it is? So I tell him what I think it's worth. And he said, okay. He says, do you have that money? And I said, no, but I can get it. And he said, oh, okay. So he goes in, and we go to the bankruptcy judge, and we tell the thing, and the judge looks at everything, and he said, all she's asking for is 120 days, I think, and she wants to pay this amount of money. And the judge said, well, okay. He said, I'll give you 120 days to come up with the money, so be it, so done. And these people sitting there going, you know, the original owners, they're like, oh, they didn't want that to happen, so now I got 120 days. Well, I got to hurry, okay? So we're walking out to the car, and I said, oh, Robin, thank you so much, and this and that. And he goes, well, now look. He says, you have the money. How you know how you're going to get this money? And I said, well, yeah, kind of. I said, I have a new CEO. And he said, oh, you do? Does he have money? I said, oh, yeah, he's got a lot of money. He said, well, who is it? I said, Jesus. Well, let me tell you, they don't want to hear that. That was not funny to him. He said, look, I put my reputation on the line. You can't come up with something like that. I said, hey, listen, I'm telling you, I turn it all over to him. It's his. It's his. You know, a lot of times in our life, you know, I heard this one story, and I think it's funny, and I see how many times when we're in troubles like that, we're like this person. There was a little skinny guy, and he wanted to get a job on the wharf in New Orleans working longshoreman on the port there. And he's skinny, and he needed a job. And he came out there and he begged the guy, and the guy said, no, I really don't think you can do this job. It's like picking 150-pound stuff up and everything like that. And the guy said, please, just give me a chance. So he said, okay. So a couple of weeks later, they're watching him, and he's struggling. He's a little skinny, and he's struggling with this anvil that he's got to load on the ship. And he's struggling, he stumbles, and he falls into the river. And he starts hollering, somebody help me, throw me something, help me. And everybody's rushing around, he's screaming, help me, somebody throw me a rope. And finally, in desperation, he hollers out, he says, look, if somebody doesn't throw me a rope soon, I'm going to drop this anvil. How many times are we like that? We're like that. We're carrying it, and we don't want to give it up. And so I had reached the point where I'm praying. It ain't doing to me. I don't see no fruit coming from this. So I'm like, what? I'm sustaining. And really what I realize now, it was that time, through persistence, like Noah, that I grew the most spiritually. When you have these things and you learn to truly turn it over. When Jesus says about the yoke, and he says, come to me all that you are labored. And everybody reads that other part. My burden's light, and this and that. They missed the first good part. The most important thing in that whole sentence is, come to me. Come to me. Well, I had nowhere else to go. That was easy for me. I had nowhere else to go. So I just said, Jesus, it's yours. Whatever you got to do here, this and that. So I was trusting. Well, the employees up there were so used to the station being sold, the new owners not making it, and then the other people would come back in, and they would have their gravy train again. So they knew they would just sustain themselves. Now, here I am, going up there trying to be nice. A lot of them were older. They had worked there all their lives. So I didn't want to hurt their feelings. So I say, okay, you can stay. Little did I know they're all like part of this conspiracy to just get the station back. So I'm up there working myself, and I find out that they're telling people, I'm trying to do collections. I'm on the phone trying to get money, and they'd say, yeah, okay, we'll send you in something. And then the other people would say, don't worry about it. She only has 90 days left. Don't worry about paying it. They were actually, what they were doing was really, it was absolutely diabolic, really, when you think about it. And I put on the St. Jude Novena through the urgings of that good cradle Catholic. She said, put on the St. Jude Novena. Now, you have to understand. First of all, I'm in an area that is predominantly Baptist, and there was 357 Baptist churches in my listening area and one Catholic church. And before, when I went up there and I wasn't anything, when they would come in, because the other churches would like come in there, and they promote, they solicit, come into this church, come to Highland, come to this Baptist church, this and that. We have this, this dinner for Wednesday and everything. So just to get rid of the people, because I wasn't going to any kind of church, I'd say, oh, I'm Catholic. I knew that would run them out. That was finished with that. You ain't coming back now if I tell you I'm Catholic. So I just tell them that. Well, then, the station used to be called WEEZ, Weesby Jamming. When I go to Medjugorje and I come back, I change it to Weesby Praying. And we changed the format, and we're changing this and that. And the people are telling the other people, just don't worry about it. You don't have to pay it. And I put on the St. Jude Novena, and I found one good Catholic guy. He had the GM dealership there. And this is brought to you by such and such dealership. And in about a week, he calls me up and he said, look, don't run that, I'll pay you for it, but don't put my name on there. He said, I got all kind of people coming up and saying, I didn't know you were Catholic. I didn't know you were Catholic. So really, then they'd lose the tapes. They wouldn't want to run it. They'd say they couldn't find it. And all this stuff was really rather demonic to me that they were doing. And I just couldn't see, it was like no way out. I didn't know, everywhere I went, I was stymied with what to do. So like I said, I'm up there trying to run this. Now listen to this. I got this house. It's so big. It's got a lot of bedrooms and everything like that, but I haven't paid the note. And I'm up there trying to make it with the radio station by myself up there. And I get somebody walks into the radio station and says, don't you own that big house up on First Avenue? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, well, I'm with... what was the name of the Department of Rehabilitation? He said, where we rehabilitate when people come out of detox and they go into a safe home. So it's for recovering alcoholics and recovering drug addicts. And we're looking to put them in a safe environment for a while. Now, as if I don't have enough problems. And I'm looking at, you gotta be you crazy. And then he said this. We'll pay you so much per person per day. Oh! God never closes a door he don't open a window. But watch what he's bringing in them windows. So I go out there, and I move myself to live on the porch so that I can rent every room. I get bunk beds so I can stack them up in there, and I'm trying to get as many as I can in there so it can pay me so much per person per day. Now, this is what I got to do. I got to get up in the morning. I got to fix the lunch so when the bus comes to take them where they go, I don't know, count screws or whatever, they give them a job to do. The bus would come, and I had to pack everybody's lunch, then make sure I had dinner ready for them. So I'd run up to the radio station, play the hits, run and stuff, run back home, make sure I had the lunch, this, and that. And now keep in mind, this is like the late 80s. A lot of information, misinformation about what was going on. And I was all the time getting public service announcements. And I'm going through the mail and going through this thing, and here's this big notice. And it says, they now have discovered that AIDS is not just transmitted through homosexual relationships. It's more predominant through drug use. And I got a house full of them. So I said, dear Lord, I know you opened that window, but what you letting in? So now I got to go to the grocery store. I go at midnight, because that's when they mark the donuts down to $1, because they're stale. So I go in there late at night, and I go in there, and then I get about 6 or 7 bottles of Clorox, so that I could wipe everything down, because it tells you about how to clean with Clorox, make sure everything's clean. And as true as God lets me tell you, this is what I was doing. I'd have a rosary in one hand and a bottle of Clorox in the other thing. And I'm praying and cleaning. Say, Lord, I know you got a plan, but I wish you just let me in on it. Come on. In the meantime, I can't get any, I don't have any buyers. And I'd get a buyer, and then they'd have to get a loan from the bank there, and the bank would squash it because these people had relatives that sat on the board. It was just, a Mayberry mentality, not a good way. So here I am, and I'm got all these addicts and people at the house, and I'm cleaning and doing all this kind of stuff, and all I could do was pray the rosary. And so I was sitting on the porch one day, and I'm praying the rosary. And this guy comes out, and he's got a broom straw stuck in his tooth, like he's picking his teeth. And he's looking at me, and he looks over at me and says, what you doing talking to them beads? I said, all of a sudden I think, well, maybe this is why I'm here, I feel my call. I said, oh, Larry. I said, let me tell you. I said, you see, I said, each one of these represents a prayer, and I'm praying with these beads. I said, it's called a rosary. He said, yeah. He said, I remember those. He said, I had one of those before. He says, they gave it to me when I was in prison. I said, oh, Larry, honey, you were in prison? He said, yeah, I was in prison. I said, well, what were you in prison for, honey? He said, murder. I will tell you this, by the time everything does get settled and everything, Larry prayed the rosary with me every day. Now, in the meantime, here I am trying to sell the station, doing this, doing that, and the employees were the most detrimental to me. They just weren't cooperating. People wanted to pay. We'd bring somebody in to look at the station. They would this and this and that. So now I'm driving back. I continued to live in Louisiana, and the station was in Mississippi, and it was like 2.5-hour ride up. And I now have a spiritual director since Medjugorje. He always tells me when I tell this story, he goes, don't tell those people that. He goes, nobody will ever want a miracle in their life for what you have to go through after. So he says, we go and I meet with Father, and so I said, Father, look, I had 2 buyers. They squashed the deal. I'm down to like 60 days. I said, I don't know what's happening. And the more I'm praying, it's like getting harder and harder. And I said, I don't know what to do. And I said, I have chapter 11, which gives me, it gives you this time of a grace period, really, but you still have to pay the current bills that you have. And if you can't make your payroll or you can't pay something, you're out. It's over. So I'm barely just trying to keep, from that point on, holding off these creditors and just trying to build this up so I can sell it and just get out of the debt. So I'm explaining to them. He goes, well, and I said, what they're doing is really diabolical to me. And he's a Benedictine, So he says to me, he says, well, when are you going back up there? I said, Monday morning. And he said, okay. He said, I want you to stop here Monday morning. He said, I have just the thing for you. He said, I'm going to help you out. So, oh, wonderful. Well, I had the most wonderful weekend. I'm like, oh, my prayers have been answered. It's all been paying off, Isn't this wonderful? He has something for me. Oh, this is wonderful. And I'm thinking, maybe it's a check. I don't know, So Monday morning I pull up there, and if you ever saw Clarence in It's a Wonderful Life kind of bumbling like that, that's how Father Francis was. And his desk is all piled up with all kind of papers and boxes and everything. So I went in there and I said, hey, Father, and he goes, hey, what are you doing here? I said, well, Father, what do you mean? You told me to stop. I'm on my way to Mississippi, and you told me you had something for me. Oh, I did. Good sign, he's going through papers. Now I'm really thinking it's a check, And he's going through papers, digging around, and all of a sudden he moves the stack, and he pulls out a medal. not wanting to be disrespectful, that's the last thing I needed, another medal. So I said, this is it, Father? This is what you have for me? Oh, he said, yes. He said, but that's just not any medal. He said, that is a Benedictine medal from the Jubilee. It's a Jubilee medal. See on the back what this is? He says, this is what they use in exorcism to drive out evil. So he said, you take this very carefully, very sincerely, go place it somewhere in your radio station, and he said, it will either remove the evil from you or you from the evil. Okay, thanks a lot. I gotta go. So the whole way I'm driving, I can't believe it, in me a medal, isn't it? So when I get up there, everybody's saying, what Father have for you? What did you get? No, you don't want to know. A medal. But he told me to say the prayer and put it. I said, what have I got to lose, you know? So the way the door was, we had a door closer on it, so the door couldn't slam, and there was like a ledge at the top. So we get up, and I put that, what have I got to lose? I'm there at night, and I go and I put it up there, and we all say the prayer, and I put the medal up there, and that's it. Now, the one lady who was handling the accounts receivable, she was really just hanging out there waiting for my time to go. And because she handled the billing and the accounts receivable, and now when you are in Chapter 11, you can't really just go off and fire people and all this kind of stuff. You got to go through all this rigmarole with the court. So I put it there, and we just said the prayer, and that was it. Within a week, no more than a week, I'm in New Orleans on my way up to bring the checks, and she said, when you come, she said, I'm coming up there to check on the things, but the checks aren't due till like the following week. And she said, when you come, can you bring my check? And I said, well, Margaret, it's my payday. And she said, well, I know, but I'm quitting. I said, you are? And she said, yes, I'm just quitting and this and that. And she thinks she's really hurting me because she's quitting like on a Friday when the accounts receivable and she's just going to leave it in disarray. So I get somebody to come up there with me that says, I'll help you do the thing. And Janie came up and we were doing the thing. And they were going through her desk so we could find out where all the things were. And what do you think we found in her laptop desk? The St. Benedict medal. So I say, oh, this can't be it. So we get up on a chair, and it's gone, and it's in her desk. And I'm like, well, she would have pitched this thing. She wouldn't have kept that thing in her desk. So I take this thing and I go, St. Ben, I know you did this. But if you really did this, one more time. One more time. So I run upstairs, and there's a monitor, a speaker monitor, in this other room with a guy who had worked there all his life, never had another job. Now, this guy, when I would come, did not even pay me the respect to, like, I'd say, look, do you think we can get this done today? I need to get this and that. I don't know, maybe. And he'd sit there and play solitaire in front of me. And every day he'd play solitaire like that, and it was like driving me crazy. So I put up that medal right there where he was. I said, St. Ben, come on, one more time. Well, it took a little longer. What would you say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that? We get a call, and he says, yeah, this is none of, and I'm quitting, and I need you to bring my check. I said, you are? He said, yeah. He says, I said, okay, no problem. No questions asked. I'll be up there. I tell you what, I'll come today. So Janie takes the ride up there with me, and when we get up there, Janie says, come here. She said, now we know why he's quitting, but wonder what he thinks why he's quitting. So I go in there and I said, here's your check. I said, and I know it's best. I know this has been hard, and this is, you know. And I said, but I just want to know why now? Why right this week? Why now? Because now I'm down to like 60 days. They didn't have too much longer. And he said, too much stress. He must have been losing at solitaire. Well, look, ever since that, me and Ben, we tight. I'm telling you what. I'll tell you what. That was unbelievable. All of a sudden, things started opening up. We picked up like Delta Airlines. We started getting national accounts, and we're doing okay. And we're down, and the lawyer's calling me. Hey, you got your money? Well, now I'm not taking the calls from the lawyer because I'm doing a little better, but I don't have the money. And let me tell you how God is. He just gives you enough to eat by. It's just enough. It was like, maybe at the end of the week I had a couple, for a couple tacos or something, And I had a drink machine. My mother used to go to this salvage store, and I'd get drinks cheap. Something called Vance or something, never even heard of it. And we'd fill the machine up, and I was like living off of the Coke machine, I mean, it was just anything we could do to eat by so that we could make the salaries. In the meantime, I'd hired this real nice black gentleman who wanted to secretly be a Methodist minister. And like I said, we used to be praying, so we would have these religious shows on, and Lewis would do a show in the morning. And Lewis had he had great faith, and so we also had, the way the station was situated was on a hill, and then down underneath we had a garage. Well, I had rented the garage out to bring in income, and it was like a transmission shop down there. And it was a Friday, and all of a sudden I get a call, and we're like $200 or $300 short of making the bills. And yet we had come this far. We're just getting business. We're this close. And I just can't take it. I go out and I sit on the steps, and I'm crying. And I said, I don't understand. You would come this far. I'm right here. And Lewis pulls up. And he said, what's the matter? I said, Lewis, it's over. We didn't make it. He said, what do you mean we didn't make it? I said, well, we can't make payroll and everything. He said, well, don't pay me. I said, oh, Lewis, that's sweet of you, but the bank knows I'm supposed to pay you. He said, well, do you feel like throwing in the towel? But of course I feel like throwing in the towel. That's why I'm so upset. Do you feel like you're on your last mile? I said, yes, Lewis. He said, do you feel you just can't go on anymore? I said, yes, Lewis. He said, oh, that's good. That's good. I said, well, why is that good? He said, because that's when the Lord kick in. Don't ever forget that. About a half hour later, Lewis and I go inside, and here comes the little guy from the transmission shop, and he said, I forgot to pay you the rent. Here's your check. Unbelievable. Unbelievable if you just persevere, That's what he wants you to do, and trust. And let me tell you something. When it comes to trusting with that money thing, that's a little harder. But you got to trust. So now I'm getting phone calls from the attorney. I'm down now. I'm down to the wire. Now I'm getting close, got some people interested, but no, I don't have a sale, and I don't have the money, and the time's running out. Now I'm like an ostrich. I'm sticking my head in the sand. I'm not returning the lawyer's calls. I wouldn't take any calls. They couldn't catch me, this and that. So the lawyer began to call Janie, and Janie called me up, and she said, why aren't you taking your lawyer's calls? You cannot be like this. You have to stand firm. You have to accept what you're going to do, and it's rude of you not to take his calls. I said, well, I'm not taking his calls because I don't have the money, and he's after me for the money. So she said, well, I think it's rude, and you need to call him. So, okay. So I call him up, and we're down to I don't know, 30, it's a couple weeks away. And he said, why haven't you called me? I said, well, he said, look, I got 2 buyers for you, and you have to pick which one you want. He said, now one is from out of town, and he's got the money, and the other one's right here, and he's got cash. I said, let's take the cash guy. Let him have it. So we go to the deal, we go and we pay the thing, we get out, and Robin says to me, you could tell me all you want about your leg, but what I saw with that much money, that's a miracle. Do you know the following Easter, Janie and I went to his first communion. He converted to Catholicism. You see, sometimes we can't see what the plan is, you know? We're looking through pinholes, he looks through binoculars. We look through a microscope, he looks through a telescope. It was all being planned. And I asked Robin, I said, Robin, what made you do that? And he said, because, he said, I deal in a horrible, horrible business of every day dealing with people that are losing things. You know, bankruptcy is a very sad thing, and these people are losing things. And he says, and all through it, you had an anchor. You held on, he says, and you had faith like that. And he says, and you had an anchor. And I realized I needed an anchor, and I needed to be able to convey that to other people. And let me tell you something. I sold the station, but I still lost everything I had. I lost all my properties. I lost all my money. I lost everything. And you know something? It was the greatest thing that ever happened. It really was. Because, you know, you got all those things. You know, I was like a hamster on a wheel trying to support them. You know? And then you get all those material things, and you got to insure them. And then you got all that money out. You know? You can't have everything. Where would you put it? So the whole thing about it is really when that happened to me, it was a wonderful release. I know that sounds, but truly it was a grace that it was taken from me. And it's kind of the same reason when Jesus is on the cross and we say, why doesn't Jesus answer me my prayer for a new job? Why doesn't he answer my prayer for more money on my job? Why doesn't Jesus answer my prayers on this and that? It's the same reason that he didn't answer the thief. He didn't answer the one on his left to get down from the cross. But he answered the thief on his right that said, remember me. Because, see, material things actually take you away from God, where the cross always draws you in. And we have to remember, look, that sounds really hard. Pick up your cross. But listen to those words. Listen what he said. Pick up your cross. Notice that he doesn't say, now take that cross and throw it down on the floor and kick it around on your way. Notice that he doesn't say, pick up that cross and bop it in somebody's head that's on your nerves. He says, pick up your cross and follow me. And I'll tell you something. When I look back and I see what the Lord was doing, now that I'm reading so much and into Ann's volumes and all of this, I have to tell you that I realized that all that I went through was actually a very deliberate, exacting plan that God had to pour out his divine mercy on me. You know, the message that night on the mountain where I received my healing, I never knew for years, said, tonight I am giving you the gift of conversion, that you may go back and convert others. And that's what we're all called to do. And the best way we can do it is with this joy and such faith in carrying our cross. Believe me, because I'm telling you, it is really the opportunity where he pours out divine mercy. The cross draws us closer. Thank you very much. God bless. Thank you.